Hey everyone, this is Bones Rodriguez for No More Waiters for Actorpreneurs.com and for Entreperformers.com. As you know, I am a actor, author, entrepreneur, and I live here in New York City where I live with my wife and son. I am an actor and have been for, well, I guess forever, depending on how you look at it. But I've been full-time without a day job for over 15 years. And as I tell everybody at the beginning of just about every call, there are two kinds of actors: those who bring the check to the table and those who get the check in the mail. Which do you want to be? Now, today we have two very special guests, a friend of mine and a friend of hers, who's shortly to become a new friend, I'm sure, Diana Lote and Eileen Schellhorn, who are both voiceover coaches, casting directors, agents. They've kind of been around the block, if you know what I mean. That's not what I mean. And we decided that we were going to have a call to help out people who want to get started in their voiceover careers, because that industry is changing so much. The internet has made that industry of voiceovers change so much because there's so many possibilities, and you can start the entry point is pretty wide, and it can go all the way till, you know, super full-time, millions of dollars for your voice and all that stuff. So I was out in the park with Diana. We were out with my son Pike, and we talked about, well, we should do a video, man. And so I would like them to introduce themselves, Diana and Eileen.
Hi.
Hello.
Just so you know, we're on a little bit of a delay. So there's like Anyway, thank you for having us. This is great. I hope that we are able to share. Bones and I did an interview in the past, and I was proud of what we discussed. I thought we covered a wide array of like what every actor needs to know. It was like a good hit list, you know, to leave behind. And I hope we accomplish the same thing today.
Cool. And great. So let's do that. And you know, we can kind of go straight into it. I don't know if would you give us a little bit of the, you know, the vocal resumes? Would you mind giving us a little bit of that?
Sure, you want to start?
Sure.
You want to start?
No, you go.
Okay. Hi. Let's see. I have been coaching now probably at least 11 years, doing workshops, classes. I was a voiceover agent at Innovative Artists for over 11 years. And before that was since leaving, I've been back in May of last year. I've been freelance casting director, doing casting, coaching, consulting, producing. And Diana and I started a company called VO Duo NYC. And we do classes from anywhere from beginner, intermediate to advanced, 4-week classes to 1-day workshops.
Yeah. So same here. Been in the industry for, you know, 10 to 15 years across the board. Scouting, casting director, assistant at a talent agency. You move throughout. Casting studio manager, talent agent, then producer, kind of all over the board. And specifically with voiceovers, Eileen and I are now teaching a series of classes, beginner, intermediate, covering, basically combining our strengths from having the powerhouse of, you know, the industry seems very large if you're not in it, but once you're there, you realize that we were in the same circles all the times, going to the same classes, workshops, parties, you know, so we have the depth of resources, so why not combine those all together and really try to help actors take their idea and turn it into more of a reality.
I like that. I like that very much. You know, talking about being in the same circles and the same people and the same parties and that type of stuff. And you know, when you're first starting out, You know, the kind of idea of nepotism in the industry seems like such a bad thing. You know, like people feel like, well, it should be the best person, the best actor should get it, the best voiceover person should get the job. But that's not true for any business. That's not true for any business in the world. And so, you know, I think let's talk about that as being the first thing that I think new actors, people just coming out of school, let's talk about how they need to realize that it's not that, it's that you can only be cast if someone knows who you are. And they have to know your character, they have to know what kind of stuff you do, and it's not okay to say, I do everything. Whereas that seems like that's what you should say, because that's what we're kind of trained to know. From a professional point of view, tell me what you do with someone who can do everything. What does that mean to you?
They think they could do everything is usually the case. No actor wants to hear that something is, that they're limited or that it's outside of their range. We, you know, to agree with your point, you have to be out there. You have to be networking and going to parties. And for an actor, that's taking classes and workshops and going and hanging out and building your craft and, you know, refining your, you know, going to the gym, which means continuing to strengthen your muscle, your acting muscle. So that may be networking on a professional level, on a social level, but also what you were saying about, you know, the actor who could do everything. You can't, no one can ever really do everything. You can try to do a bunch of different things really well, but just do what you do really well. That's what we try to tell actors, is like, we're not even looking for actors as much as we are a version of themselves, where it's an amplified, you know, no writer could possibly create, and you can't possibly like summarize when somebody walks in the room and they just, you're mesmerized, they take your breath away because they're just in their element of whatever character they've rehearsed, and that's what it is. And it doesn't matter that it maybe there's no better or worse or somebody else. It's just, you know, how do we have captivating conversations with different people that we meet? You know, it kind of works the same way when someone is just being themselves.
Yeah, just knowing who you are is number one. That is key. And I think, and finding that voice of who you are. A lot of people assume, especially in voiceover, they have their voiceover voice. As soon as that microphone gets right in front of their face, it is voiceover voice. And so in trying to remember who you are, where does your voice come from? And even when you're meeting people and networking, that should be what comes across. The industry has changed so much in the last few years, where everything is more conversational, real, natural, as opposed to the hard announcer sell.
Okay, cool. And there's no question that I have been so guilty of putting on a voice, and you know, even acting, you know, of like, oh yeah, the guy's Southern. Okay, great. So all of a sudden I talk real slow. You know, like I'm all of a sudden not me. And you know, in voiceovers, it's probably even that much further, because you feel like you don't have all the same tools. You know, you don't have the facial expressions, even though, actually, well, let me ask you this. Some people like to really get into doing copy and stuff like that when they're doing voiceovers. What do you think of that? Like physically, and what do you think of that?
Oh, absolutely. You should. It's, even though no one can see you and no one's looking at you, that's when you can be the silliest, and you can do anything, whatever your face needs to do to get you into that person and to get that emotion out, then that's what you should be doing. Using your hands, as long as you're not hitting anything, using your hands, using your face, and just lifting your eyebrow is going to change how the sound that comes out.
Sure, it's acting, and everybody forgets that. It's still acting. It's still like being whatever your character would normally do, if they would, it's embracing that character. So everyone comes to us with kind of a misconception that voiceovers is just kind of like either narration or animation. It's either just cartoons, and it's like reading a script somehow, and it's just another, if anything else, it's like film acting. It's like a very intimate, fine, perceptive way of communicating a script. But it's no different than anything, yes, it is very different, but it's no different from acting. We still teach all of the, similar techniques.
What would you say makes up the most jobs? Because, if we're talking about, people booking work, what would you say, who buys, what is most bought in that industry? Do you know what I'm saying? Just like any other business, there's a certain thing that is the most bought, right? So for voiceovers, is it TV ads? Is it radio ads? Is it the books on tape? Is it tape? What would you say is the thing that is most bought by the voiceover buyers?
Depends what coast you're on. Generally speaking, it's changing right now with all the new media. It is really, with the different platforms, it is changing. It used to be commercial. That was the bread and butter. That was where all the money was, and especially commercial out of New York.
Yeah, so the answer is that it has been evolving, even just in our short career, over the lifespan of commercials. So as the medium changes, maybe two different answers to your question. As the medium has changed, so people started gravitating from radio to television, then from standard network TV to cable television, and then from cable television to the internet. So now it's just constantly evolving in where they even watch it, whether it be on their laptops, their phones. So just the vehicle through which people receive their information has changed. And as a result, the market also responds as to where they put the most amount of content. They want the most bang for their buck. So where they're spending the most money right now is the internet. Commercials will always be king. Even though people may not watch them, advertising pays for a majority of, programming on television right now. And even though it streams on the internet, it's made for television. So that will always be the case. And the other thing that won't change is that because it's advertising, sells products from real people to real people, they're going to target the market that spends the most amount of money. And that will always be 25 to 45. Like, that just happens to be when people are making the most amount of money in their careers. So that's when they're spending the most amount of money. And they want a familiar voice and face to be selling them those products. So it will always, unfortunately, it's a lot harder to get into the industry if you're outside of that demographic. It's not impossible, but it's just a little bit more difficult because there aren't as many jobs available to you. We never discourage anybody, but just being honest. As if your question was like, is there a specific sound or character or style?
Not anymore, really.
No.
It's everywhere now.
So
every age, every demographic.
Part of what I have come to understand is that all those things have changed since the internet, since it's gone so much, and now the internet has all those the same things that were on TV are now on the internet, and the same things that were on radio are now on the internet, and the same thing that were books are now on the internet. That there's more and more actual work. Whether or not it pays the same is different, but that there's more and more of it. So sure, while 25 to 45 is the most disposable income, the U.S. demographics, 25% of us are going to be over 65 in another 5-10 years. So what does that mean for and they're going to have disposable income too. So what does that mean in the future? Does it mean that you know, there are going to be more and more products and services to be sold to those people? I mean, you see a lot of the insurance companies and, you know, medical health stuff. All that I think is going to be very huge coming up soon for voiceovers. All the law offices and cars and still and all that stuff is very big for voiceovers. So look, I just got out of school. And what I learned is that I'm a great man. I am talented. And now I just need to go find an agent. And then once I find the agent, then I'm made. Is that true?
How many times we get asked that question is, once I get an agent, right? Easy as that. You are your own brand. You are your own marketer. Getting an agent may be half the battle. I know a lot of people we just met with someone earlier today that is searching for an agent, and, you know, what is he doing to make, or build his company in order to be, I don't know, attractive to an agent.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the work that you put into it. So just like we said before, is you got to be in the room, you have to be going to the parties and going to all the functions and taking the workshops and going to see the shows, and, you know, outside of social media, actually being physically in front of people is the most important thing. And
you have to be proactive in your own career. That's what it comes down to. You can't leave anything up to anyone else in this industry. It's if you just think that by getting an agent or by having someone, you know, a manager, that they're going to then do everything for you. When it comes down to it, they just provide the opportunities. You're the one who books the job. So you still have to know your brand and know who you are in order to book the job.
Cool. So one of the things what we talked about in the last call was that if you knew, if you were in the plumbing business, you would know that it was up to you to go find out who needs their drains clogged. But as actors, we're kind of taught, well, your agent or your manager will go find you all the jobs. You just show up and unclog the drain, right? But like, you would know if you were a plumber that it's up to you to make your flyers, which is your headshots, to have your website, which is your website, to have your phone number everywhere in your business cards. There's other ways to have people contact you. And just like it's the same thing for an acting career on camera, it's the same thing for voiceovers. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely, 100%. There is no difference between being successful in your voiceover career and being successful in any other aspect of your career or another career entirely. It's all the legwork that you put into it. If a new program comes out for a computer programmer, they go and learn that program. If a voiceover actor wants to then get into the business, they have to learn how to do that. Just like anything else, it's being immersed in the medium with which you would like to work. It's meeting the people, learning the techniques. It's just like you said with the plumber. It may be scarier for some reason, right? There's an allure. There's some sort of like stigma or like fear that people may have, but it's no different.
And I think that, you know, just because you just graduated doesn't mean that you still don't need to be educated. So in, you know, part of the networking and part of meeting people, there are tons of different classes and, you know, whether it's improv or acting or, you know, anything that you want to do, that's how you're going to network, by continuing to learn and to educate yourself.
Cool. I think I was having a conversation with somebody else recently, and you know, the whole thing about, well, we're artists and we want to show our art, we want to showcase our art, we want to give our heart to people, we want to perform for them, and all that. And so therefore, there's a kind of, well, then the artist, you know, I know for me it was true. I like got away from everything business as I possibly could. It was like, you know, and a lot of artists are like that. Let me just stop talking business. I'm the artist of this whole thing. Stop it. And then all of a sudden, wait, what? I'm a business owner? Wait, what? This thing I wanted to do, I'm a business owner? Picasso was a business owner? What are you talking about? You know, I think that's scary. And it's just something that I think a lot of people don't want to be true. I guess we just spoke to that. So, right, I mean, do you want to
I think, yeah, I mean, I think that you have to remember that as much as it is still a business and your brand is your business, you still, I mean, we want to work with people who we like as people, as human beings, that we want to help people who are real, and you aren't always talking business. So as much as it's a business, knowing when to put that to the side and be your authentic self, because that's who we would want to work with.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and that's one of those things that sometimes people are like, oh, you know, in LA, everybody only talks to you if you can do something for them, and you know, and then there's the little, and
Yeah.
you can take it too far. You know, it's just like anything else. You can take something too far. Why are you wasting your time talking to that dude? He's just a grip, you know, or something like that. Awful.
You know, you never know where someone is going to be at any given time in their life, or where, you know, their path is going to go. So whether it's, you know, someone who is a grip, maybe they're going to be someone who can hire you down the road. So making sure to never burn your bridges regardless. Anyone who is in this industry, you should have, you know, just always remember that.
Hey guys, here's rule number 1. Don't be an a-hole.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna write that down. Hold on one sec. Be an
Please take a note.
What does that mean?
I'm gonna post that right over here.
Across the board.
Right, across the board.
Yes.
In this business or not.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. So
Business grid.
Anyway.
yeah, that's the note that everyone's gonna come away with. Okay. Okay. So we talked about that, you know, you want to be performing. We talked about that you want to showcase your business, that you want to get network, that you want to find people who require that service. And we talked about how the industry is changing, and you know, now I want to talk about knowing how to do voiceovers because, you know, I'm an actor, right? So of course I can do a voiceover. And we talked about, oh, you just act, but with voiceover, but there is a difference, right?
Huge difference, of course. Just like any other, you know, we always compare it to whether you're on stage. It's all the medium through which you're telling your story. So the same script told radio, TV, whether you see someone's face or you don't, whether they're on stage, in film, you know, is it a comedy, a drama? You know, you always see different actors transitioning to different aspects of the arts. And each of them has to develop a different way of telling that story, a different way of acting, because the medium is different, the vehicle, you know, the audience is different. So with voiceovers, it's the same. You know, we have to figure out how to reach a certain group of people. You have an audience, you have a story. How do I tell it in which way? And there's tangible techniques that we teach, that we coach people through. There's ways of picking up a script and recognizing what is the message, who am I talking to, and what needs to be told. So, of course, just like anything else, all arms of the entertainment industry are just slightly different based on who you're talking to, what medium, you know, what vehicle you're telling it through. And it needs to, you know, it's not rocket science, it's all learnable, but no one should ever think just because they're an actor that would make them automatically, you know, just step right into voiceovers. There is a learning curve, just learning how this vehicle drives a little differently.
Yeah, and it's just exercising the muscle, going back to just the more you do it, the more you practice, and and become more familiar with it, the better you are. With some people, they could go in and book their first audition. Others, it may take a year or so of auditioning, but it's about not getting into your head, believing in yourself, and keeping at it in order to succeed.
Awesome. So in the last time I hung out with Diana, we had a disagreement about this, and I want to make sure we get into it. And here's what it is.
Uh-oh.
Because
Eileen's got my back, so you better watch it.
No problem. Actually, we got to two disagreements. One is my level of sexiness. There was a disagreement there. I didn't voice it, but you seem to not be on the same page as I am on that. But that's okay. The second one has to do with what's more important, and neither one of us is actually correct. Okay, but I want to get into it. One of the reasons I made this video is because I am promoting a course that there's a link to around here somewhere that teaches people how to find jobs online to do voiceovers from home. That is it, and it's for like regular people. It's not necessarily for actors. It's very beginner. It has a couple different parts to it, right? So there's beginner, and that's for like people who want to work at home and make money doing voiceovers from home. And then there are other upsells about being more and more professional about it. And the part that we were talking about, well, what's more important? Knowing how to book a job and to like where the jobs are and how to find a gig and how to set up your business, or knowing how to do a voiceover, how to like what techniques and things there are. And we were discussing which was more important to someone who wanted to be a performer, a professional performer. And so I wanted to make sure we had this dialogue so that you could see that we were talking about two different things. What I'm here talking about is about, yeah, you can actually start from scratch. You can start from scratch, find some voiceover jobs, get paid a little bit, and learn as you go, as you earn. You can do that, just like you could in anything else. You could learn to start unclogging drains without going to plumbing school, without following a plumber. But you could also take classes, take courses, find mentors, find agents and managers who will point you in the right direction. And that's why I wanted to make sure I got Diana and Eileen here. So in talking about the two aspects there, I was kind of like, well, I thought that someone who knew nothing but knew how to find gigs was better off than someone who knew how to do it but didn't know how to find gigs. So talk to me about either one of those two. Okay.
So I actually also disagree with you. Sorry. Because, and I'll tell you why. When you put yourself out there, and if you don't know what you're doing, and you are, say you make a demo and you're not ready to make a demo, you're not putting your best work out there. So when I was an agent or as a casting director, you're listening to someone, and we remember, doesn't matter how many people we meet a day, you remember people, you remember names. And if I am not necessarily into, or I don't think that they're ready, I'll remember that. And then when their name comes around again, I don't know that I would, they wouldn't be at the top of my list for me to listen to or to call in. So you don't want to, what's the saying, chop your foot off, or just cut your nose, to spite your face. Yeah. If you're not
yourself in the foot.
What's that? Don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Right. Yeah.
Don't put, if you're not ready, don't put yourself out there in that way, because that is the first time, that's the first impression. That's, it's kind of like how we say when someone slates their name, that's your handshake. That's what people are going to remember. That's how people remember your name. And I think it's the same way in this instance, that that's the first work that you're putting out. That's what people are going to remember. So if you're not ready, I don't know.
Here's the thing. There's book smarts and street smarts with everything, every industry. So to your point, could you learn it in school and classes and an apprenticeship? Yes. Could you street smart, figure it out, go unclog a bunch of drains, make a bunch of mistakes, make some enemies in the meantime? Yes, both are effective methods to get you work. I just happen to think that it's your better foot forward to know what you're doing. Yes, and there are, talent plays in on both sides. Maybe just somebody, there's that person who works so hard at trying to learn something and they're just not very good at it, and it may come naturally to someone else. There will be those instances in any industry in learning anything new. So of course, go for it, but please be equipped when you're walking into the room. Know what you're doing. Be educated, knowing that if you're going to walk into the room to compete against, a plumber may not necessarily be in line to knock on the door, and you're plumber number 6, plumber number 12, plumber number 20 that is going to fix that drain. But in the acting world, it is that, and we're going to see a bunch of people for the same exact position that needs to be filled. You want to be prepared to compete against your competition. So could you do that through school or through, school to hard knocks? I guess that's up to each individual student.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
for me, sorry. The thing that I like to avoid, or what I try to motivate and inspire people to do is this. Sometimes people will be in college, and all 4 years they're acting majors, and they're acting majors and whatever. They come out and they're a fantastic artist, fantastic, but because they don't feel they're ready, because they don't want to burn bridges, and because they don't do anything to get out there. And it's been my experience, and that people who are kind of starting from zero, who get out there, end up further ahead, because this one then goes to get their master's in acting for some fucking reason. And in the meantime, the 16-year-old who's been doing shows the whole time is way better prepared to actually work. So
agreed.
That's my argument. Yeah. So there's a point where you got to say, well, damn it, I know how to do some of this, so let me start. And I would argue that, people don't like when I say it, but just about everybody can actually be an actor. Just about everybody can say words in front of a camera. Just about. I don't want to get anybody mad. Just about. But there are, of course, levels in what you're trying to do. Not everyone's going to do a Cadillac commercial, but most people could do an online Kickstarter voiceover. Is that fair?
Who sets the barometer on whether someone's good at something?
Right.
Right? Just not everyone can. Sure, you could speak. You have the ability to speak and you have the ability to read, but who determines whether someone is good at something, right? It's the fact that they book jobs, they have a network of community, right? They have a developing community of like-minded performers. What makes someone good at something? So to say that everyone can, yeah, everyone can have
do whatever you want,
has the ability to, but it's such a specific skill that needs to be learned. That's our biggest pet peeve, is when people think that everyone can do it. Just because they have the ability to read is not a prerequisite to doing a voiceover or to be an actor or to any of it.
I mean, I guess it's more that anyone can do it, but not everyone can be successful at it.
Not everyone should.
Right, sure. And
everyone should try. Right? Everyone should develop their skills and continue swinging the bat. But at what point do you go and get a batting coach? Right?
Yeah, perfect.
I love
it's
that. I'm always going to defend education, always.
Yeah, I hear you. And what agent school did you go to?
The School of the Hard Knocks, where you make pennies. We both have communications and arts backgrounds, degrees in it. So we learned it on paper. We scouted the streets, making no money when we were 20 years old, looking for talent, going to shows, figuring it out. So I think we both have a background in working in the agency. You don't make a lot of money because it's assumed that you're making, commission, and it's the connections and school of, you have to learn the trade. And that's exactly it. We had a mixture of both: School of the Hard Knocks, an apprenticeship, and going to school.
Cool. So that's what I want to motivate people to get to the hard knocks part. Just because I've been teaching people long enough, I realize that it's the getting to the hard knocks part that everybody wants to avoid. So they want to get an agent so they don't have to get to the hard knocks part. They want to get a manager so they don't have to get to, So we're not in disagreement. Of course you should know what the fuck you're doing, right? And of course you should continue to learn. But there is a point where you gotta step forward and start, in agent terms, it's like, well, I want to learn about how to pick out great actors. I'm not going to go to see any shows yet, though. That would be asinine, right? So for people who are watching this, who want to maybe start a voiceover thing, and their excuse is going to be, well, there are no classes this week for me. I want you to know that's an excuse for you. Especially because I'm sure that Diana and Eileen have classes that can fit you, so you can learn what to do next. So tell us more about your coaching.
Absolutely. We try to keep things flexible so that actors have no excuses. It's at night, it's on the weekends, it's fitting it in around people's schedules, and we keep the price reasonable. Both of us are here. In addition to a producer comes in at the last class. We're in a professional studio. There's no excuses. We're gonna throw you into the pool, with both feet, and you're gonna learn everything you need to know in the shortest amount of time to know whether or not this is something you want to do, have the ability to do, the interest. Yeah, we try to cover it all.
Very flexible, even to the point that if we've had people who don't necessarily feel 100% or have to be somewhere right after, so we can Skype them into class. We can put them on a phone call for the class. Whatever it takes, we're open to always working it out.
Cool. All right. So sorry, if you're watching this, which you must be, then I want you to know that your excuses are gone. You can get started and you can learn what to do. Now, on Maslow's hierarchy, no, that's needs. There's a hierarchy of learning, okay? There's a cone of learning. And the least effective way to learn something is by reading about it. The most effective way is by actually doing it. But right before actually doing it is doing it in a demonstration, and doing it in a simulation. So I know that Diana and Eileen, they give you a copy. They introduce you to the people you want to meet. They give, they themselves will tell you, what characters your voices are for, who to meet, what kind of stuff you're good for. And then you get to do stuff in simulation, because the School of Hard Knocks is difficult. I have done several voiceovers of my own, Hard Knocks style. It would be great knowing more about, if I had known more about what type of stuff I was right for. And so I'm going to implore you guys to call them now. Their website link is around here somewhere, and get the home course if you're somewhere else in the country. get the home course about doing stuff from home, sign up for classes with them, make yourself available, because the voiceover industry is just growing. Whereas it's almost, if you're a musician, it's so hard to make money from your music these days. You have to sell everything but your music if you want to make money from your music. But if you have a voice, you can be hired to do stuff. And Eileen and Diana can help you guys find the people who want to buy your services once you learn how to do what it is, how to bring out your own voice. She said that earlier, how to bring out your voice. I thought that was an excellent pun. How can you bring out your special voice, and how can they help you tailor it to find people who want to pay you for it? Did I miss something, you guys?
Just also part of, once you are a student of ours, being that we are both, we also both do casting, we then open that up to our students. And Lotus Productions, which is where our class is, that's the studio that we're using. The owner and producer here also will send auditions to our students, because once they become more familiar with them, they meet all of our students.
And let me comment on that. As someone on this side of the table, that some people would be like, oh, I get it. Take your class and then maybe you'll call me in, right? Is that it? And I'm from New York, and we're skeptical about stuff. And that's kind of the actor mentality. But here's what you're missing. When you take classes with them, they're seeing you grow. They're watching you actually work. Whereas when you just audition, someone's seeing you once a month. If you're lucky, you go to the same place once a month. Now you're actually in front of people who buy that service and are tailoring you to become what they need. Because just like buying anything else, if you want to buy, basketball sneakers, you have to go find the sneakers. So it's their profession to go find the voices that they have taught and tweaked so that they can get it. So it's not a matter of like, oh, you're not paying to get in the door. It's that, oh, you get to be in front of them and learn along the way. The only way I've booked work is because I've been in front of people who buy that work enough that they knew what I did, okay? And frankly, part of this video right now is me, Bones Rodriguez, letting Diana and Eileen see my character and personality and what I'm like on camera. Ding, duh, right, you guys? So, although I have a cold now, you have to call me, if you want this voice, you have to call me when I have a cold. Okay. So click around here, make your appointment to go be part of their classes. Get the home course from me if you want to learn how to quit your day job, get no more waiters, how to build your acting business without a day job. I'm about to sign off. Is there anything else you guys would like to say?
Anything else?
No, I think we're good, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
To touch on the last note that you made, acting is one of those jobs where no one's going to pay you to do it until they know that you can do it. So the pay-to-play thing is very much like, well, first do it, let me see that you could do it, and then I'll pay you to actually book the job. There's a lot of jobs like that, but you kind of have to demo it, and that's what we in the industry on the casting producing side see as like necessary to you have to be in the room in order for us to know whether you're even.
How are we gonna know you otherwise?
Exactly. So be in the room, guys. Do what you want to do. Network and take classes and be out there. So thank you for with us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Even
thank you guys for
1 second delay. I hope it didn't play into it.
Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. People who really want this information aren't worried about the delay, and those are the people who end up booking work and doing stuff. That's just how it is. There are dilettantes out there, and there are people who want to do the work. And I want to congratulate you if you've watched this whole thing, and tell you that you can do it. I promise that the internet and the future only is change. The only thing that you can count on is change. And if today you're not where you want to be in your life, in your career, whatever, you get to choose who you want to be tomorrow based on that information. You can say, yesterday I was this person, today I can totally just choose to be someone else. And if up till this moment you've thought that you could not get into voiceovers for X, Y, and Z, I hope that you're spending this time with us has given you the hope and the courage to choose differently, to choose the direction where you can just say, yeah, you know what, maybe I can. Maybe, you don't need to know. Maybe you can take the next step, okay? So my name is Bones Rodriguez. Come visit me over at I'm an Actor Dammit on Facebook, or at nomorewaiters.com. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.